These are the 5 unexpected signs you are about to become profitable. But if you miss them, you might quit right before the breakthrough. And the first sign is the gatekeeper, the shift most traders never make and the reason they stay stuck for years. I'm sure this will sound familiar. You backtest the system, you get excited, you trust it. You take a few live trades. At first, it's fine. Maybe a small win, maybe a loss. Then you hit 3-4 losing trades. And suddenly everything feels shaky. Maybe this isn't it. Maybe I missed something. Let me go check YouTube again. And within hours, you back in the cycle. New indicators, new filters, new hope. It feels productive. But deep down, if you are truly honest, you might know the truth. You are not searching for improvement. You are trying to escape discomfort. Because let's be real, switching systems after a few losses isn't smart. It's emotional. You are trying to protect your ego, avoid the sting of being wrong. You tell yourself, I just want to find what really works. But what you are really saying is, I want something that never makes me feel down. But that strategy doesn't exist. Because all systems, even great ones, have losing streaks. And as long as you keep jumping ship every time the pain shows up, you will never build real trust in any system. And without trust, you will always sabotage your edge right before it kicks in. I have coached dozens of traders through this. They tested a strategy for a few days and abandoned it after 3 losses. Every single time I will tell them, the system didn't fail. You just didn't give it time to succeed. Eventually, they stopped trying to find the perfect strategy and started asking a better question. Can I run this system with 100% consistency for at least 50 trades? And that mindset shift in itself made them consistent. Here is the reality. Any edge, even a small one, only shows up in large numbers. 1 loss means nothing, 3 losses mean nothing, even 5 losses in a row, still statistically normal. But if you switch systems every time that happens, you reset the clock. You never hit the sample size. You never collect useful data. Worse, you lose trust in yourself because your identity becomes the trader who always starts over. And if you can't trust yourself to follow through, it doesn't matter how good the strategy is. So if you stop switching every time it hurts, that's not a small shift. That's identity level growth. It means you are prioritizing logic over emotion. You are committed to the process over dopamine. You are willing to stick to the plan even when it's uncomfortable. That's what separates losing traders from profitable ones. Because real profit doesn't come from finding the one strategy. It comes from finally sticking to one long enough to let the edge play out. And most traders never get there. But if you did, you are much closer than you think. But even if you stay committed through losses, you still won't make it if you don't know how to survive the long, boring plateaus that comes next. I'm sure you've been here. You are journaling, following the plan. You are not skipping trades, not forcing setups. You are managing risk, and still your account doesn't move. Week after week, break even. Sometimes slightly red, other times barely green. And the worst part, you can't even blame yourself. You didn't overtrade, you didn't break the rules, you didn't revenge trade. You did everything right and still nothing to show for it. And that's when the voices creep in. Maybe I need a new strategy, maybe the market changed, maybe I'm just not cut out for this. But this isn't failure, it's a test. And most traders fail it. Because if break-even hurts you, you are still emotionally attached to results, which means you don't actually want consistency. You want dopamine. You want every week to show progress so you can feel good about yourself. But the market doesn't pay you to feel good. It pays you to endure. But if your identity still depends on your equity curve, you will never survive the flat parts. Because real trading success isn't built on excitement. It's built on boredom. And until you can handle that boredom, you will keep forcing things that don't exist. You will sabotage stability just to feel movement. Some of my most profitable students had their biggest breakthrough after 2-3 months of brutal drawdown and stagnation. They were doing everything right, but the market gave them nothing. Until 1 month, out of nowhere, everything clicked. Same system, same discipline, same execution. But the variance finally flipped in their favor, and suddenly they looked profitable. But what people don't realize is this: they were already profitable. They just hadn't hit the payout window yet. Because here is what most traders never understand. Break-even is not nothing happening. It's a proof that you are doing something right. You are not losing, you are not blowing up, you are not making wide emotional decisions. You are holding the line. And in trading, that's the only way your edge gets a chance to show up. Why? Because edge only works if it's given enough trades to express itself. And the only way to get those trades is to not quit during slow periods. Listen, break-even isn't a failure. It's friction. And that friction is what separates real long-term winners from dopamine chasing gamblers. So if you're no longer shaken by drawdown, if you can see through 30 trades without tweaking rules, if you can look at a flat equity curve and say, good, I'm doing my job, that's not a minor skill. That's one of the highest level traits a trader can develop. Because at that point, you are not reacting to emotions. You are not measuring progress by feelings. You are not in this for today. You started thinking in months, not minutes. And that shift means you are no longer hoping to get lucky. You are simply waiting for your edge, which means profitability isn't just possible, it's already at your doorstep. But emotional control isn't just about drawdowns. Because even if you can handle flat periods, you will still crash if you keep tying your self-worth to whether the trade won or lost. You know the feeling. You hit take profit and feel like a genius. 2 losses and suddenly everything feels wrong. You start replaying entries, rereading rules, wondering, should I even have taken this? But that doubt, it never shows up before the trade, only after the result is known, which means you are not reacting to your trading plan. You are reacting to how it felt. And that's the giveaway. You are not building trust in your system, you are riding an emotional roller coaster without realizing it. And this is where most traders stay stuck. They think they are analyzing performance, but what they are actually doing is chasing certainty. They win and feel validated. They lose and start questioning everything. But listen, if your self-worth rises and falls with the outcome, then you are not trading a system. You are using the market to regulate your emotions. And that is not a stable foundation for profit. Because now every loss feels personal, every trade becomes a test of your identity, and that pressure leads to hesitation, overcorrection, revenge trades, and fear. We all been through this, but one of my students was a textbook case. Every win inflated him, every loss deflated him, but he was following the plan. So we made one change. He stopped tracking results completely and started tracking one question. Did I execute perfectly? Yes or no? Suddenly, his emotional swings disappeared, his confidence becomes stable, and most importantly, his performance finally leveled up. Not because the system got better, but because he stopped letting random outcomes define him. This is just pure math. Wins and losses are distributed randomly in the short term. You could take 5, even 10 great trades in a row and still lose money. But that doesn't mean you did anything wrong, because edge plays out over volume, and consistency comes from controlling the input, not the output. So when you judge trades by execution, not result, you remove randomness from your self-assessment, you anchor confidence to process, not hope, and you create a stable mental baseline no matter what the chart says. That's not motivation, that's leverage. So if you stop tying your mood to green or red and start asking one question, did I follow the plan? Yes or no? That shows insane maturity. It means you are thinking like an operator, you are moving like a professional, you taken back control from the randomness of outcomes. And that shift, it's one of the deepest signs that you are about to break through into consistent profit. But even with this mindset, you still need something to execute. A system that's actually simple, locked, and repeatable. But if you're still tweaking rules every second week, You are not there yet. I'm sure you've been stuck in this loop before. You adjust the entry, add the confirmation, filter by session, limit to only one market condition, then double check everything again. You are always just one tweak away from finally unlocking it. At least that's what it feels like. But in reality, you are not refining edge. You are avoiding responsibility. Because as long as the system isn't finished, you never have to confront the possibility that it's you who is not ready. And this is the trap that nobody talks about. When your system is complicated, you can always blame the 1 in 50 rules that isn't aligned with that setup. But when your strategy is simple and you still mess up, there is nowhere to hide. That's why traders love overcomplication, not because it works, but because it gives them cover. Every extra filter is emotional insurance, a way to feel more in control without actually increasing performance. But trading doesn't reward perfection, it rewards repeatability. But you can't repeat what you don't trust. And here is the kicker. It will be very hard to trust until you simplify. I have watched dozens of traders finally break through, and every single one simplified. First, they dropped the indicators, they stopped jumping time frames, they picked one entry type, one execution model, but they didn't do it because they had figured everything out. They did it because they finally understood the goal isn't to take perfect trades. The goal is to take the same trade over and over without hesitation. And that's only possible when you stop tweaking the strategy. Listen, simplicity isn't a weakness, it's structure. Every extra rule adds more delay, more doubt, more ways to make mistakes. And when it matters most, during live pressure, that complexity collapses. Because your mind isn't built to process 10 variables in real time, but a clear, simple binary system, that's what lets you execute under stress. Because when your plan is simple, you act faster, you think less, you build real confidence, not based on results, but on clarity. A good system doesn't need to feel perfect. It needs to work when you are not. So if you stripped your system down and finally committed to it as is, that's not a tactical improvement. That's an identity shift. It means you killed perfectionism. You let go of ego. You build trust in simplicity. And that mindset, that willingness to lock it in, even if it's not perfect, that's what separates traders who think they are ready from traders who actually are. But even the simplest system won't help if you still judge your trading based on how it feels. Before this shift happens, everything in your trading feels personal. You win, you feel smart. You lose, you feel broken. You start saying things like, maybe the market is different now, maybe I need better confirmations, maybe I should just pause for a bit. But none of those thoughts come from evidence. They come from emotion. Because without data, your trading decisions are guesses dressed up as logic. Let's be brutally honest. If you are not tracking, if you don't know your real win rate, if you couldn't answer right now what's your average R is, then you are not actually a trader. You are a chart gambler with good intentions. Because what you feel about your system means nothing. Memory lies, especially under pressure. You only remember the clean wins. You minimize the mistakes. You distort the picture. You want it to be profitable so badly that you unconsciously filter reality to match. But reality doesn't care how much you want it. It only responds to facts. I had a student once who was 100% convinced his system worked. He would run dozens of trades and said, it feels good, I think this is the one. So we backtested 100 trades. Here is what we saw. Win rate, 35%. Average risk reward, 1.5. And this doesn't include over trades, missed setups, entries based on impulse, and fixed cost per trade. His edge, crumbling beneath the surface. But the moment he saw it on paper, his whole mindset changed. Because it was no longer emotional. It was just numbers. And numbers can be fixed. See, in trading you can't improve what you don't measure. If you don't know your stats, you can't isolate the variable that's holding you back. Are your entries solid but your exits weak? Are you skipping rules? Are you skipping the best setups? Are your huge lucky winning trades carrying the whole system? You will never know unless you track. So here is a few trades that real traders track. Win rate, average R, trade frequency, time of the day, emotional state, execution errors, fixed cost per trade. And once these are clear, you will stop treating trading like a guessing game and start treating it like a system, because you are no longer trusting vibes, you are trusting data, and data doesn't lie. So if you are already tracking every trade, breaking it down by numbers, judging your system by logic, not mood, that's not a small change. That's the last shift you need. You are no longer reacting like a normal trader, you are thinking like an operator. And once you make that shift, profitability becomes a question of when, not if. Because at that point, you already build the habits that make success automatic. So if these 5 signs are showing up in your trading, even just 2-3 of them, you are closer than you think. Because profitability doesn't arrive all at once. It shows up in signs, small shifts, tiny decisions, and once they compound, there is no stopping it. You are not just improving trades, you are becoming a trader. But even if you do all of these, you will never make any money if your strategy is not profitable in the first place. So watch this video to see if your strategy is actually profitable on the live markets, because if not, if it only works on backtest on demo, you will miss months and thousands of dollars before even realizing it.